It's the big one, not the biggest one quite, maybe, but a big one nonetheless. Chelsea at home, a game in which we always seem to find a way to lose despite ourselves. Can Thomas Frank bring something different, though? Is he the man to launch a new era of dominance for Spurs in London derbies? Our current home form would say it's unlikely, but perhaps against a side who are built on possession, this could be a home game that feels more like an away one. And given Thomas Frank's style of play, gives us a great chance to win 3 points. I wouldn't say I'm massively confident, but we definitely have a big chance. I'll be discussing tonight's game as well as all the latest Tottenham transfer news in today's show. Guys, thanks so much for watching and listening wherever you are. Please do give this video a like and press that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber for daily Tottenham Hotspur news. I'm sure you've already noticed we've got a new sponsor for the channel. It's okjersey.com. They have the best current and retro jerseys from around the world, including loads of brilliant Spurs stuff. So scan the QR code on the left-hand side of your screen. And if you want 8% off, use the code BARN, B-A-R-N, when you get to the coupon box at checkout. Also, for those of you who want to come on the watch along with me for the Chelsea game, go over to BigUp. All the details of how are in the description box below. But let's get started, and I'll begin with some Tottenham transfer news. I'm not really sure about this one, but got to report it because the transfer tittle-tattle is starting. Some reports that we're interested in trying to get Jared Bowen out of West Ham and are prepared to spend, wait for it, £60 million on him. Now, for me, not only would West Ham be very unwilling to sell Jared Bowen to us, but also I don't think you're getting a 28-year-old who signed a 7-year contract just 2 years ago for £60 million, especially as he's an English player. There's that English player tax and the Premier League to Premier League club tax. So I cannot see that one happening. But what it could be, I think, is a starting point from Jared Bowen's agents and representatives being like, I'm not enjoying this here at West Ham. I want out. So I'm going to, the agents are going to start leaking little bits of information here and there. Another player Spurs still interested in apparently is a man who's been on a list for a long time, but actually moved to Juventus in the summer. That's Canadian striker Jonathan David. He's had a bad start at Juventus, only scored 1 goal and made 1 assist in 10 appearances. Having moved from Lille. So Spurs sniffing around him. And once again, I will say this, Don Fabio Paratici loves dealing with the old lady of Italian football, Juventus. Obviously, he used to work there. So all the rumors of Spurs players being interested in players from Juventus, not Spurs players, sorry, and Spurs being interested in players from Juventus, probably, you shouldn't kind of poo-poo it, I would say, because Don Fabio loves to go back. Okay, now we start talking about, obviously, tonight's game against Chelsea. How are you feeling about it? Always nervous when it comes to these big London derbies. Our form against Chelsea at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has been bad. We did get that win where I think it was under Stellini, bizarrely, when Oliver Skipp scored pretty much in the first kick after half-time. But other than that, it's been really poor at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think maybe we beat them once. Was it on penalties in the Carabao Cup? But other than that, not done well since we moved in 2019. In terms of injury news, there is some positive news. I'm sure you heard it yesterday. Christian Romero, Destiny Udogie, and Wilson Odobert all available for selection. I would be surprised if they came straight in, to be honest. Maybe especially Destiny Udogie, I would expect to be on the bench. Odobert and Romero have been out for a shorter amount of time, so you could potentially see them starting. But let's see what happens. Thomas Frank was asked about Christian Romero and whether he could have played on Wednesday against Newcastle. He said this, I'm very aware of trying to be able to take the best possible decisions. Of course, in the end, I get a lot of information from medical staff, performance staff, but it's always my decision. If a player breaks down, it's on me. Wow, what a far cry this is from Ange Postecoglou, who basically threw medical staff under the bus, left, right, and centre. Thomas Frank went on to say, it's not on the medical staff, it's on me. I take the decisions, I get the information. So that's it. If he was fit enough, he would have been involved on Wednesday. So he's ready to be involved tomorrow, and let's see how much. So that, to me, again, I think denotes that he'll probably, Romero, start on the bench. We do have previous in bringing back players against Chelsea and then them getting re-injured in the case of Mickey van der Ven and James Maddison, I think it was a couple of seasons ago. So listen, it's an important game tonight, but it's not the be-all and end-all of the season. So I wouldn't be risking people's health on it, frankly. Ali Gold asked Thomas Frank about Dominic Solanke. He said, we're very aware of when Dom gets back. We hope, touch wood, we'll have him back and there'll be no setback. So we're very aware of doing it the right way. So that's all going in the right direction. He said, when he comes back, it's very unlikely that when he's back for the first game, he'll start. That would probably not be the right way to do it. I haven't seen any player do that where they've been out for 3 or 4 months. Most likely when he's back after the international break, he will come back off the bench and we'll take it from there. Frank also was asked about Deki Kulusevski returning to the grass to start work. He said he's still not on the grass and we're working very hard to get him as fit as quick as possible. I think my message is, though, that he's not on the grass yet, which means it's not going to be anytime soon. We had discussed maybe the possibility of Deki coming back around November, December, but that's looking less likely, certainly November at the moment anyway. Frank was asked about, is he concerned with all of the injuries building up? He said, of course, I would like to have everyone fit and available. We know injury is part of it. It's up to me to find solutions. I think some of the ones we had are relatively, how can I say, unlucky injuries. It's how quick we get them back. But contact injuries to Maddison, Basuma, the knee with Destiny, can't do anything much about that. And then he was asked about Archie Gray and whether it was a training injury. He said he would have started against Newcastle. He got a contact to the calf in Monaco and probably in there or whatever also picked up a calf strain. How do you feel about the injuries? Obviously, maybe there are some of you watching who are big Ange Postecoglou fans who feel like, you know, myself and lots of other people were unfair on Ange, saying that he was responsible for the injuries. But one thing that Thomas Frank has mentioned is that he's happy that a lot of these are not muscle injuries, they're more contact injuries. And it really was the muscle injuries that was a problem with Ange Postecoglou and had been a problem for Ange Postecoglou at his previous clubs as well. So that, for me, is where a little bit of a difference is at the moment. Thomas Frank was asked and gave answers in depth about Xavi Simons, who is another kind of issue at Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. A lot of Spurs fans are really not being patient with him. Thomas Frank said this: it's probably too much to put everything on Xavi in terms of when he's clicking, when the team is and the team being free flowing. When this team was clicking well in the last 2 seasons, it definitely involved most likely Maddison, Kulusevski and Son at the same time. Dom Slanky came to the club last year for the first time, as I remember. So those 3 on the pitch at the same time gave the team a lift. So that's why it cannot be one player, in my opinion. It needs to be 3 to 4 to get the team clicking. But I also understand that there are some players who need to add more to get the team free flowing. And in that case, Xavi is definitely one of the players that needs to do that. Okay, so he's supporting him, but also saying he needs to improve. He needs to get up to speed with the kind of pace and tempo of the Premier League. He went on to say he is taking steps forward. He's getting into the right areas. And now it's just the last decisive pass and action that can make the difference. His fitness is growing. His intensity is growing. He's come to a country where you need to train with high intensity. It's a league which plays with high intensity. And I'm asking him to work harder. I don't know. Did you hear there potentially a little dig about the quality and levels of Xavi Simons' training? That's something obviously we've had before back in the Jose days. Do you remember when he really called out Dele Alli on his levels in training? But I've watched obviously a lot of TV shows down the years and listened to a lot of podcasts where ex-pros talk about training. And they all say, you know, there are some players who are just not big players in training. They're match players. And I wonder if Thomas Frank is alluding to that potentially with Xavi Simons. He said, then Xavi comes into our team when we're finding our way all together. Even though he's quite an experienced 22-year-old, he's still coming to a new country. I think it's very normal, but I am sitting down with him. I'm evaluating him, and he is taking steps forward. So I think overall positive messaging about Xavi. Clearly rates him as a creative player, but perhaps suggesting there's more, not only more to come from him in matches, but also maybe more to come from him in terms of his intensity in training. Frank was also asked about squad depth. He said, I don't know the exact number of players you need to have enough depth. I think you need to have enough robust depth in the squad. So for example, I don't think it's the right answer to have 30 players. That's way too many for us to go extreme. It's probably not right to have 18 either. You need to have that perfect number where everyone has a chance and we can also use everyone. That's it. And then you're not too short when you have injuries. Well, at the moment, I think we're down to about 15 or 16 kind of proper first team available players, which is, not ideal. And then Thomas Frank was also asked on the subject of injuries about James Maddison. He said, this season, a return? I don't know. The answer would have to be maybe. He got the injury in July. I think we need to get past Christmas to see how he is going. Normally, you would say 9 months, as I understand it, without me being a doctor. So let's see. Listen, as far as I can say from my point of view, and I've said this all season, I wouldn't risk James Maddison this year at all. I would just be like, get back. You're 28, 29 years old. This is important that you never suffer this injury again. So get back to your best fitness-wise, and then we'll get you back for pre-season next season. and that will be the most important thing. Before I go on to a little bit more reporting on what Thomas Frank said about tomorrow's Chelsea game, let's hear a little message from our sponsors with maybe a voiceover from someone you may have heard before. Get yourself to okjersey.com, where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video. Enjoy. Cheers, guys. Hope you enjoyed that voiceover. Definitely get to okjersey.com. Some really good vintage Spurs shirts there and at brilliant prices. But let's go on. Thomas Frank was asked how difficult he's finding it to coach when so many players are injured. He said, of course, you want especially the key players to be available for as many matches as possible. I think I'll go that far to say that the availability is probably one of the areas that you need to nail if you want to have a successful season, and especially availability of your top players. That has to have impact on relegations, Champions League qualifications, and the Championship. I think that Liverpool more or less had no injuries last year, and they're struggling a bit more now. Arsenal had a lot of injuries last year, a little less this year, so it can be a decisive factor at times. What I would say is that there are two things I think you need to look into. The first thing is that if you can avoid muscle injuries, it's definitely hamstring, calf, quad, stuff like that. If you can avoid that because of a good gym program, good recovery, the right way to train, the right processes, then I think you're halfway there. Then there's the contact injuries that you really can't avoid, and then they get returning to play again a bit quicker. So that time from when they get injured to when they came back to training, they're the two bits you need to nail. On soft tissue muscle injuries, we're quite good, which I'm very pleased with, as I mentioned earlier. Now it's just not the kind of odd injuries, but contact injuries. We need to get the return to play time down. So yeah, like I said there, I think he mentioned there kind of similar to what Ange Postecoglou was saying last year, which is like, if you get a lot of injuries, you're going to struggle. And that's why we came 17th. But he then did caveat saying we're having fewer muscle injuries, as I mentioned earlier. So that is some positive news for Spurs. Thomas Frank was asked about playing a different system, tactical tweaks in the last couple of games, and whether he was encouraged by that. He said, yeah, definitely. I think in both games, Everton and Newcastle, we looked much better in the structure we tried to build to hit players in spaces in between the lines if that opened up, or of course around it if it's too tight. You're right. I think first half against Everton, we had it. And throughout the game against Newcastle, I think we found good positions. And to be honest with you, I completely agree. The first half against Everton was as strong as I thought we were. We then just backed off too much in the second half. And then in Newcastle, although I didn't feel like we were brilliant in that game, there were many occasions where Xavi Simons or Bentancur was running forward through central midfield, having broken through the press of their kind of five-man defensive midfield. So it was a lot more positive on that front. So I'm going to allow myself to be positive going to this Chelsea game. But to be honest, in this Chelsea game, I'm really expecting us to kind of play like we do away from home, really a bit deeper and trying to hit them on the transition. Frank was asked about whether Christian Romero's return opens up the possibilities for playing a five at the back against Chelsea tonight. He said, yeah, I would say that to have him back, it could open it up for it. Also, we've got Destiny Udogie back, so that's a positive. It was a little bit more of a challenge against Newcastle with less options, but as I said, I think we performed well in many areas. He said, the home game against Chelsea under the floodlights tonight is going to be unique and special. I'm really looking forward to it. We need the fans behind us. I know they give us everything, and the best clubs are united together. That is the plan and the aim. 5,000 people travel to Newcastle on Wednesday night. That's incredible determination from the fans, and we need that from the team. Maybe we have the best stadium in the world and definitely the best fans in the world, and we know the sound in that stadium can be insane. He's called basically in the last few home games for the fans to really back us, and it hasn't helped. So it's a real mix of, yes, the fans have to get behind us with the atmosphere, but the players really need to then show on the pitch something to get the fans keeping that atmosphere up. I really think it's a two-way street. Thomas Frank was asked about Spurs' poor record against Chelsea. He said, sometimes there's a little bit of momentum to one team for a small amount of time, and then that will change. One of the biggest derbies in the world is El Clasico, Real against Barca. There's always been times where either Madrid or Barca were on top, but then it changes to the other team. Hopefully this is a good time for us to change the momentum and get on top. Yes, Thomas, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we need. We need to change the momentum round in these London derbies. We've lost the last few against Arsenal. We've lost a load against Chelsea. It needs to change. We did beat West Ham away this season, so a good start. Frank was asked how excited he is to be part of the story and the rivalry against Chelsea. He said, I'm very excited. I'm really looking forward to it. A London derby between two big rivals. There's so much on it against a very good Chelsea team. It'll be a very competitive, even game under the floodlights. It's got everything to be a top game where you'll be on the edge of your seat, hopefully, if you're a fan or a part of it. Hopefully that's the case. We need to come out flying and get the fans with us. I'm very positive about us coming out performing very well tomorrow. Listen, I'm all for us coming out flying. I agree with that. However, we have done that in the last few home games against Chelsea. We were 2-0 up against them last season, lost 4-2 at home. So it's not only about coming out flying. It's about being able to, if you do get ahead, dream scenario, then being able to play in a way where we don't concede loads afterwards. I am more confident that under Thomas Frank, we are a lot more narrow, a lot harder to break down. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Cole Palmer is injured. They've got a few little injuries, haven't they, as well? So I think it could be tight. But look, it's the Chelsea. Anything could happen. Frank was asked about the amount of money Chelsea spend compared to Tottenham. He said, it's up to us to try to shorten that distance as much as possible. A little note to the Lewis family there, Thomas. But of course, it's evident that the more money you use on the squad, the better your chance of success. But it's not 100% sure. Can we nail the culture, the way we want to play, how we develop the players in the team, and maybe make even more togetherness? Then we'll be able to get a bit closer. It's the same here as it was at Brentford, but if you're at the top as well, it's the same in that sense. It's always about outperforming what you have to work with. I agree with him on that. I think Chelsea are the perfect example of how it's not just about spending a couple of £1 billion. You've also got to get it right in terms of strategy and the bond of the players. And I think Frank being in charge, his messaging is so ideal, kind of Poch level messaging, that if we're patient with him and we give him a chance and we give him the tools, and the Lewis family do give him some money, then I am confident that we can get this right with the help, obviously, of Fabio Paratici and Johan Lange. Paratici more in terms, for me, of players who are ready to come straight into the first team, and Lange in terms of these young, often Scandinavian talents we're looking at to bring in, the likes of Lucas Bergvall, etc. Frank was asked if he's watched some of the Spurs-Chelsea mad games of the last few seasons. He said, yes, we're in the entertainment business, aren't we? I remember the first one. What was that? The 4? What was that? Like the 9 men? 4-1? Yeah, 4-1. I remember that. That was crazy. But yeah, in the past, some games we were part of that. Everyone will remember for whatever reason. Hopefully we'll be part of a game everyone will remember tomorrow when we come out on the winning side. Come on, Thomas. That's exactly what we're talking about. Let me get into my predictions for the Chelsea game. Starting with the team, I think it'll be this: Vicario, Porro, Spence, Van der Ven, and Danso. I'd be surprised if he brought Romero straight back in after an adductor strain. Then I think it's right to go back to the Polinia and Bentancur double pivot with Simons in front of them. And then I think it'll be Rishi, Randall, Kolo Muani, and Kudus in the front line. Maybe that's a little bit more hopeful. What I'm talking about is I'd like Kudus to start on the right, Randall Kolo Muani to start up front, and Richarlison start on the left to bring a bit of physical power. I think the only thing Frank hasn't done this season is started Richarlison on the left. Richarlison's getting absolutely fearful pelters from the Tottenham fan base at the moment. And for me, I think he's a better left-sided player. If you've been listening to my videos all week, you'll have heard that. He's a better left-sided player than he is a striker. And if we can bring in Randall Kolo Muani up front, Richarlison on the left, then we've got two players who can challenge for those high balls and get around the second balls as well. Scoreline, well, I predicted us to lose against Everton last week, 2-1, and we won. So I'm going to predict that we're going to lose to Chelsea 2-1 as well. Just a last couple of bits of news. Juventus apparently interested in signing Yves Bissouma, having missed out on Milinkovic-Savic, who has signed a new deal out in at Al Hilal. I'm sure you saw this story, but amazing. Alfie Whiteman, having left us as our kind of third keeper last season, retired from football at the age of 26, and now he's become a film director. Who would have thought it? When was the last time you heard of a footballer at Premier League level retiring to then become a film director. Good for him, following his passions. Very, very impressed. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please do give this video a like if you haven't already. Do subscribe for daily Tottenham Hotspur news. And as the transfer window comes closer and closer, I'll be doing more and more Tottenham transfer news. And if you want to join me for the watch along for the Chelsea game later and all Tottenham watch alongs, I do them on another platform. It's called BigUp. All the details of how to join me there and join our community are in the description box below. Guys, enjoy your day and come on, you Spurs. Get yourself to okjersey.com where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course, the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video.